So it should be recording, or at least
It doesn't
I
pop
hit.
up, hasn't popped up yet.
Oh,
Now it has.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. It's just a little delayed. Okay, so this is I'm supposed to let everybody know that they're being recorded now. I get a little pop-up on that. Okay, so this, you guys, I want us all just to like block everything out, take a minute to just like zero in on what we're going to talk about. I have been working on this process for myself for probably about 8 years. And one of the things I would say is that this is, for me, this is like a living, breathing, like always ever evolving process. I've just refined it. And then during different seasons of life, it requires different shifts. So it's not set and run forever. I oftentimes visit it to see what else I need to like maybe pull out or add in, depending on like what life is needing from me at that time. So I call this my Sunday sit down, and it's my way that I plan the entire week for both me from a business standpoint, but then also me for my family. And it's funny because I was asked to actually prepare this because it's something that I talk a lot about and have taught on in Agency Owners Alliance. And then I taught a class for women agency owners. And then I just did one for my mastermind. They asked me to do it. So I finally was like, why don't I just formalize this and put it together in a PowerPoint? Because I know what I'm doing. And then after I taught it a few times, I thought to myself, wait a minute, why would I ever bring this to all these other people before I first brought it in to you guys? So that's why we're doing this today. So it's what this is I consider the Sunday sit down as part of a personal operating system. And what a personal operating system is, it's like how you plan your week, how you plan your day, like your morning routine, like things that help you to just like be able to function at a higher level than when you just wake up and you're just reacting to the day or reacting to the week or reacting to whatever. So it's helped me to like start my week and my days by taking control of them. And so then I'm able to just like kind of like relax and be far more in the moment and much more effective at the things that I'm doing. So first thing is that, I'll go over the agenda here. With what we're doing here, like in the past, I've just had people hold questions to the end because I didn't want to get sidetracked, but with a group like what we are, feel free just to shoot out questions as they come up. So we'll be more collaborative since we're a smaller group. So let's see here. So here's the agenda. You guys already know me. I don't need to, and housekeeping, you guys can just interrupt me because you guys are who you are. I'm going to go over planners, how to schedule yourself first. Brain dumping, I use something called the 3D filter. How to plot things out on your calendars, how to schedule, scheduling time to delegate, checking on yourself, how planning dinners and stuff works for me. The command center that I use in our house, which sounds super formal, but it's not. Taking time to honor your calendar, and just some examples of things that I do in my own week. You guys already know me. All right, so the first thing I do, and on these PowerPoints, just so you guys know, like I don't read off of any of them. They're just like placeholders so that I know like what I'm going to say at that moment. So one of the things that I do, we all have our Outlook calendar. Adam and I also have a Google calendar, which I know you can probably like get the two to talk. I don't do that. But so we have like our digital calendars. We have the Google one we have for like the kids, the family, Adam and me personally. It's all color coded and it looks like a hot mess. But then I have the Outlook calendar for work. So we have like, the operations we have, and then our individual ones and that type of thing. So it gets to be like a lot of digital calendars going on. But what I found works the best for me is I always have a paper planner. So right now I have that Soul planner, which I just moved to this year, and I've really liked it. In the past, I've used a Passion planner, which I did really like too, but we just got one for Chloe at Target that's like amazing. So you can get them from wherever, but there is something about, in the past when we've done trainings, we talk about the learning loop and how part of like learning things is writing them down. And as much as I love the digital piece and having everything in the cloud, and it's best for us from a business standpoint to do that, there is something about us personally, like actually like stopping, sitting down and writing things out. It cements something in us from a learning perspective. Um, so I do, especially when you can see it and you can see it all in one place and you can see how it's going to flow. Like you can identify where you might hit in snags, or like I could identify, okay, Adam, I'll get Chloe to work this day, but you need to pick her up this day. So everything's set ahead of time. So this is kind of counterintuitive, but I always take time to schedule myself first, because I feel like in society we are like always in pushing for hustle mode, and especially like just all of us are. It's always like on, push, 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 push. And I just feel like being overscheduled, being overly busy, the glorified "I'm so busy" is not, I don't buy it. I feel like we're not supposed to be living our lives where we're burning the candle from both ends. So, that being said, there's obviously a time element too, right? So this is part of the reason why I get up at 5:15, because I take time. My morning routine is part of me taking care of myself. And for me, I have to make sure that I am continually growing myself personally and professionally, because like the agency, or like nothing's going to grow past what you grow yourself. So we have to be continuous growth mode in order to like be better, like for me to be a better leader, or for me to be a better mom, or for me to whatever it is, like just being super engaged and taking care. So for me, this looks like my morning routine. And then I do have some like reoccurring things that I set on my calendar. Like clearly I get my eyelashes done. But like I get acupuncture once a month. So I just have those set up on reoccurring schedules. So I don't have to think about it. They're just on the calendar, the appointment's set. And it's a way that I just have it on autopilot to make sure that I'm taking good care of myself. Um, and honestly, this is an area that I could do a lot better in, because there's a number of things like that I totally don't do a great job at with as far as self-care, but I do try to schedule it, and I do schedule it first. Next is what I do is I take a look at my calendars. So we all have like dual screens, right? So I will put my work calendar up on one side, and then my personal calendar on the other side. And then I'll also look at what I have to actually do that week. So maybe it's like picking out topics for our team meeting, or it's like I look at everything that I actually like have to do, and I write down all my to-dos. And it can be even like Caitlin, like with the Responsible Owner Program, I'll schedule stuff like that, but I'll write it all out on a big brain dump first. And sometimes I will use some space in my planner. Other times I use my journal, because I always have a journal going. But I just have like one massive brain dump. So all your to-dos, I don't like the to-do lists, and this is part of me getting rid of to-do lists, because I think to-do lists encourage procrastination. And so projects, if they're working on a project, like this is one thing that I've really been working on, Caitlin, like with Responsible Owner Program, instead of me putting on the calendar like ROP, it's too broad. So like I need to actually break it down to be like, okay, you need to record the video that says XYZ. Like it needs to be as broken down in a to-do as possible. And then a lot of the projects too come from like our annual planning. When we do our annual planning, we can work these projects backwards, plot them on the calendar, and then break the projects down into like the next step that we're going to do. So break them down till they can't be broken down any further, because that's what you're going to want to schedule on your calendar, not the big project. Because when you get to the big project, if it's too broad, you're going to get there and you're going to look like a deer in headlights. It's going to be just too much. So I do my brain dump, and the reason for the brain dump is because then I run it through what's called a 3D filter. So there's 3 things that I do. Is I decide if I'm going to delegate it. So I'm going to have, pull somebody in for help. And this is an area that I am learning to do. I'm not really great at delegating yet. In fact, I remember, Caitlin, I don't remember if this was maybe like it was maybe a year and a half ago, and we were doing planning. It wasn't last year, it might have been the year. Anyway, we were doing planning, and I remember saying to you, yeah, I met with this person and we were doing a bunch of planning, and the planning was really good, but I ended up walking away with like this massive list of to-dos, and the other for the other person, and the other person didn't have anything, which is totally my fault. It's not the other person's fault. So all that to say is like, this is an area that I have to be intentional about, is learning to like pull other people in and not have it all hinged on me. It's the reason also why we have that vendor toolkit, because I was trying to learn all the tools and vendors, and like I can't do that. So I either choose the things I'm going to delegate, things I'm going to delete, because there are certain things that are in front of you that you have this idea that you actually need to do that we really don't necessarily need to do. It's all just in our head. And then the last one is things I'm going to actually do, and then finding a way to enjoy the things that I say that I'm going to do. So let's just say like right now I'm doing the Dirty 130 challenge, and I need to make a bunch of outbound phone calls. Like that's on my to-do today, and I already pulled my list and I have it all pulled together. And frankly, I have not made outbound phone calls for new business in like 10 years. It's been a really long time. I'm doing this to challenge my personal growth, but I'm going to find a way to enjoy it. So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to find joy in it. So what does that mean? Okay. Probably means like, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. I'm going to go find a cozy place to sit where I can actually like set myself up, at least in an environment that I can, be comfortable and not totally hate the experience. So finding a way to set myself up for the things that I'm going to do in a way that I can enjoy it as much as possible. So then what I do is the things that I decide that I'm going to actually do, and then the normal schedule things, like I got to pick up this kid, or we have the team meeting Wednesdays at 2. Those things all start going on a calendar. So first I put in all the things like that I have regularly scheduled. So like if I have an acupuncture appointment, if I have, I have to pick up Chloe today at 2:45 to bring her to work, and then I'm going to be in the Hudson office until 5:15 when I have to get Evan from football and bring him home. So those are 2 things that I know they're non-negotiables that I have to do. So I write all those out on my actual planner. And then after that, I take my to-dos and then I plot those on my calendar, and I just am intentional about how much time I give myself, and I'm intentional about being very, very specific in my calendar. So I don't want to just throw crap at a wall. That goes back to that, like, Sunday Beth needs to set up Thursday Beth to succeed. So I have information in my calendar of like what exactly I need to do, where I need to pick things up. I don't just put like responsible ownership program, because then I'm going to get there and I've already done this to myself before. And then I'm going to be like, I don't actually know what I'm supposed to do right now. And and I have all these other things that are pressing on me, and so then I just get distracted by the other things. Like that's just, I think it's human nature, or maybe I'm weird. I'm also really intentional about, remember there's that theory, that Parkinson's law, where they talk about your work expands into your day. So I try to kind of pinch the amount of time that I give myself to do something. Also because I want to always stay in the headspace of like, done is better than perfect. Like, let's just get in there, let's get this done and move on. Because if I can get in that headspace where I have to make this perfect, and then something that should have taken 10 minutes just took me an hour and still not perfect. I use time blocking, but I never will time block more than 90 minutes because 90 minutes just seems to be like max brain output, and you just need to be able to get out and like go walk around after that. I also am intentional about building slack in my day because all of us are in situations, all of us are in roles where we really don't know like what is going to happen quite next. And so if you build some slack in your day, then you have room for those unexpected things without it being like overly stressful. But I write all of this down on my calendar. So like I can show you what this week for me looks like. So like this is, can you guys see that okay? Or is that?
Yeah.
It gives you an idea of kind of like how I write it all out. And I'm really specific about it. Okay. So then after that, I do this on, oh, there's my 3D filter. Sorry, I should have switched the slide, but delegate, delete it, or choose to enjoy doing it. So I plot my calendar, build slack in my day, remember Parkinson's law. And then the next thing that I do, and I actually just do this Sunday right after I do my planning. I take the things that I delegated, and then I like decide like who I'm going to delegate this to, and but then I want to set them up to succeed with it. So I need to give like parameters of like what this should look like, when I need it by, like that type of thing. So I get out of my head on over to somebody else, but then they're set up to succeed. I'm not throwing crap at a wall. So especially when you start delegating like more things, you need to set outside then the time to delegate it. So whether it's right after you're done planning or it's sometime like, Monday afternoon or something, making sure that you're intentional about giving the specifics of what you need done. Which that sounds like it's so, well, duh, but it's not actually. Like that was a learning curve for me. The next thing I do is, I do this on a weekly basis, moving backwards, is I am like, I think in life, we can say that we have certain priorities. Like my family is my priority. My marriage is my priority. My career is important. Like we can have these different things that we say is important. Or like my faith is important. But it's like your priorities, what you really prioritize shows up on your calendar. How you're choosing to spend your time is what you're giving priority to. So I look back in my week, because I'm really intentional about writing it in pencil, because if something changes, then I change in there, and I can go back and I look at my week and I'm like, okay, how did I spend my time? Like I have a checklist of certain things that I need to make sure that I do. Like I need to make sure that I have my Sunday sit down. I need to make sure that I have spent one time, like I used to do kiddo breakfast. Now we're switching that up, but like I need to make sure I have one time with the kids, like alone to connect, and like no distractions, but just the time to be together. Adam and I have a date night every week. It's usually Wednesdays, but just making sure that that was on the calendar and done. I usually try to find time once a week to connect with a friend. And I also learned about myself that I need to schedule my workouts around social stuff. So I like show up for them. So like yesterday I walked the loop with my friend Mandy. This morning I actually ended up walking the loop with actually Dr. Jamie Whitney. So I try to make sure that I'm nurturing relationships because it's really easy, especially when you have kids and all the things that are happening, like going on, to like not nurture relationships. And then time for myself. So just making sure that I don't really believe in the thought of balance, but that things in life are in harmony. Like I'm not like crazy only doing one thing. So after that, in my planning, I can tell what's going on in the evenings. So I can see like who's going to be here when do we need to just do grab and go, which for us would be like, okay, I'm going to have taco meat and a bunch of the ready stuff for tacos ready to go so you can have a decent meal in like 5 minutes. Or when I'm going to actually like prepare a meal or what I have been doing is when I go to Costco, at least getting one of those pre-made meals. Sometimes too, because those are great too, because like it's just makes it simple, but really being intentional about making sure like we're trying to sit down as a family, or that there's something at least in the fridge that they, that we can grab. Like I made chili this weekend, but I doubled the batch, so we have a bunch that's just left over that we can warm up really quick. So we do that, and then Adam grocery shops after we kind of get an idea of what's going to happen for the week. Then after we do that, Adam, this next part has been where things like really came full circle, because one of the things I found that I was doing is I was doing this planning and I would put some decent energy into it, and I would feel like I knew what was going on, but I wasn't really sharing it with like the rest of the family. So it doesn't really matter if like the other people that it's impacting don't know what things look like. So Adam actually had read this book about doing like a Sunday, like kind of like family meeting-ish. And so actually we started just, when we sit down, like we do usually have Sunday dinner together. And then I just bring my planner with me and I just talk through the week. So I'll tell the kids like what days we'll be bringing them to school, what days you're riding the bus, what nights we're having dinner, just kind of walk through like who's picking up who when, or if someone's going to have to wait to be picked up for, 15 minutes or something. We review all of that kind of stuff at that point. And then I started a command center. So it sounds fancy. It's really not. It's just 2 whiteboards, a cork board, 2 cork boards, a weekly like planner thing, and then a monthly planner thing that are on our wall in the back entry. And I just write out like a month at a glance, like this weekend we're all at that wedding down in Iowa. So I wrote that on there, or I wrote when I was going to be up in Gilbert, I wrote that on there so they can kind of see like at a glance. And then I write down the week, like, Dad's picking Evan up at 5:15 this day, Mom's picking Evan up at 5:15 this day. I write that on the weekly. So as they leave, they can just see at a glance like what's going on. I actually mostly created that because I was going to start throat punching children because everybody was like, "What's for dinner?" And that's like a swear word to me because it just makes me so mad. And so this way I'm like, don't ask me. Just go look at the board.
Yeah.
Don't ask me that question. It makes me super grabby. And then, so after, I would say, this process is, if you're going to take the time to like create your plan, like then you need to be committed to honoring your calendar and not skipping over things and like, holding yourself accountable. It does actually take some self-discipline. There are days where I rock it, and there are days where I'm like struggling and I'm trying to move things around because I'm trying to avoid the things I told myself to do. So it's definitely takes like some self-management skills, I'd say. And some day, like I said, some days I'm really good. Other days I'm like, gosh, this is harder than it should be. So that is just practice honoring your calendar. A couple of things that I like to do for my like examples of my week is like reoccurring different events on my calendar. I like to do that so then I get into a good rhythm. I'm also like super anal about my morning routine. It just helps me, like this helps me take control of my week, and my morning routine helps me take control of my days. You may not know this, but like I am naturally super free spirited. So I have to do certain things to place external structure on myself, or that's ridiculous. Adam knows all about it. He would probably tell lots of stories. Because when I'm not keeping myself like on the straight and narrow, I'm like a tornado. So that is it. That's what I do. It's a little bit of it is a process. I will tell you, even though I have it plotted on my calendar, I'm always done before my calendar. Like I actually love this process. It helps me feel just super clear about the week. And depending on how you're wired, like some of us like love planning. Like I am one that loves planning. So this process is obviously one I created. Tanya, you're much more of like a taskmaster. So this for you may be like, this sounds like the most painful thing on earth because I just want to go really fast. So something like this would be like, you'd have to frame it differently than how I would frame it. For instance, like this would be like, I'm going, like, if I were more of a taskmaster, like, because I'm thinking of Adam as more of a taskmaster, like, this would be hard for him because it would be, like, too slow. And planning like this for him would be hard. So, if you were to ever choose something like this, you would have to have it and like frame it like, I'm going to choose to go slow so that I can go fast. So, because, with that taskmaster, you kind of have that, like, want to get going at a clip type of feeling. So we're all, not that that's like how you feel, but I just know that you're wired more of a taskmaster, and I know Adam is, like, this process would be harder for him to follow. So that's it. That's all I had. Do you guys have any questions or thoughts or anything? Nope.
Not really.
Sounds good. Well, I will download the recording and the slides and I'll throw it over in training so you guys can just reference it whenever you want to, if you ever choose to. So,
Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
Bye.